Hi, I'd like to welcome everyone. Tonight we're going to be having Money Talk with Andy Lear and Maya Gillespie. This is our first program with Global Connections this year, so I'm excited to see some students who came out to learn more about your financial aid services and resources. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it to them in a moment. If you haven't already, be sure to go to Tools and check your Audio Wizard setup to make sure you're able to hear the speaker as well as chat and share your questions. Also, as we move forward, I will every once in a while you might hear my voice. I will be sharing questions with our presenters as you type to help them manage the chat a little bit. So enjoy, and thanks again for tuning in.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andy, and this is Maya, and we're both advisors here at Washington State University for all campuses, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about financial aid. We hope everyone enjoyed your summers. Unfortunately, it's time to kind of get back into the swing of things, so we'll keep it kind of short and simple for you, but these are some things that, just some reminders that kind of help you get along through the first start of the semester and everything. So we'll get started.
All righty. So we're going to start by talking about aid disbursement. Let's get our slides going here. All right, our aid disbursement process is actually starting next Wednesday, which is August 19th. And this is when our aid actually releases from the university and hits, or gets releases and hits the student account. So by now, you should already have your tuition charges on your account. You may also have some course fees for different courses you might be taking. So if you log onto your MyWSU account, you can see those. Does this mean next week on Wednesday your aid is going to disperse? Not necessarily. There are a few things you might want to check just to make sure that your aid would disperse on time. Something that might hold it up is if you have some to-do items. So if you have never taken out loans before, you're going to want to make sure to sign the master promissory note or do that counseling for that. As I said, tuition should already be posted to your account, and then once aid disperses, it's going to hit tuition first. You can elect for it to already cover those course fees. It doesn't automatically do that. And then after that, you could get a refund. And then this refund could be used for books or different living expenses while you're attending school. And so that can either come to you in the form of a check, which would be mailed to the address we have on file for you. If that's not correct, you're going to want to definitely update that in your MyWSU. And then another way it can come back to you would be in a direct deposit, which would be something you set up. And that's actually, the direct deposits are going to leave WSU starting next Friday. And a check would get to you between 5 to 7 business days, and direct deposit takes about 24 to 72 hours to hit your bank account, depending on what bank you bank with.
So if it goes on Friday and they disperse it, then hopefully it'll hit your account for the first day of classes on Monday the 24th. So.
Yeah, and then one other thing, there's another office on campus that we work really closely with and students kind of get us confused with, and that would be student accounts. And so they're going to be the office that actually has put the tuition charges and the course fees on your account, and then they're the one that handles all the money coming in and coming out. People think that we have money, but we actually don't handle any of the money. So if you have any questions about any charges on your account, they'd be the ones to contact. So the next slide is just kind of a little chart, just a kind of a little flow chart to show how aid disperses and like just the whole process of financial aid delivers. It's going to go to pay towards the charges on your account. If there's any money left over after it's paid the charges, you'll get a refund, and then the refund is sent. So next up is scholarships, one of my favorite topics. Free money. Who doesn't love free money? I mean, come on. Andy, you love free money?
I think you do.
I think I do. There are a few different types of scholarships that our office handles. We do have the General WSU scholarships, and these are going to be awarded from students filling out the General WSU scholarship application, which is due January 31st every year. It's available on our website. Let's see the awarding process. We're almost done awarding these for this year. We still might have a few coming in. If you have filled out the application, you will receive an email notification from us telling you what scholarship you were awarded and the dollar amount for that. You can always see it on your financial aid package as well. Another area, which is something that I personally handle, are the outside scholarships. And so this might be something if you are involved in like a church group or Boys and Girls Club, the Elks Club, or Elks Lodge, something like that. They have scholarship opportunities for students, and those come in through the Student Accounts Office, and we work with them to get them posted to students' accounts. We do also have some great resources on our website. It's under our scholarships page on the outside scholarships tab. And we have some different search engines and scholarship websites that you enter in your information, and it's kind of like a little bit of a resume where you type in an area of study in school and some demographic information about you, and then the websites help match up scholarships to you that could work for school for you. And then lastly, we have departmental or campus-based ones. And so I know that Global Campus does have some scholarship opportunities available on their website. And I think the application deadline for the whole year scholarship, so fall, spring, was July 1st. However, if you want to apply for just the spring-only scholarship, it's open until November 1st. And that's something that you can look at the Global Campus website and get more information about that.
All right, so another topic, and it's kind of important, is satisfactory academic progress. So when you think about that, we like to dumb it down and call it SAP as an acronym, but we're required by the federal government and state governments to monitor academic progress. So the three things that you have to keep in mind in order to keep receiving your aid, basically it comes down to maintaining a minimum GPA of 2.0 while you're going to school, not just the term, but also a cumulative GPA. That way, you're keeping up with it. And then sometimes you get involved with academic restrictions when it comes to certain GPAs. But financial aid 2.0 is the correct one that you have to follow. So another one is PACE to degree credits. So if you're attempting, say, for this coming term, attempting 12 credits, you want to make sure that you're at least passing 67% of those credits. So your PACE to degree. And again, that goes down to not just term, but also cumulative. So if you end up having a rough semester or something like that, you can certainly, if you're doing better later on, you can sort of make that up. But that is something that we keep track of in our office. And the third one is also maximum time frame. So, the government feels that you should be getting your degree in a certain time frame. They don't want you to just keep borrowing loans or getting grants and things like that. So they put restrictions on that, and they make us enforce that. So you want to make sure that you are completing, 150 credits is the maximum you can get for your degree. Otherwise, then we might start to question, hey, what's going on? Why haven't you graduated yet? And so we'll be monitoring your total credits as well. Those are the three things that we kind of keep track of. But so how do you know if you're in a SAP denial? Well, you might have an idea. You know how you're doing in the semester, whether you withdrew from a couple of classes or if you're struggling in a couple and things like that. But because we're monitoring it, usually once the semester ends, the last day of finals, the following Tuesday is when all instructors and professors report their grades. And then the next day on the Wednesday is when our office will run the SAP process to see what's going on. So, did you complete all your credits? What was your GPA? That's when we're monitoring that whole situation. And so that's always done the Wednesday after classes end, the day after grades are submitted to the registrar's office. And then at that point, we will contact you and let you know how you're doing. If you're in good SAP standing, we won't have to contact you at all. But if, say, you maybe missed a couple classes, we might send you a letter saying you're on a warning or a probationary status for the next semester. Or if you are in complete denial, then there'll be instructions then on what you have to do to appeal that. And then if you do appeal, we will look at over, and then if you're approved, then we'll create an academic plan for you, sort of like a terms and conditions that you'll have to sign and then return to our office before your next semester's aid will release. Another quick thing right now, and hopefully this isn't the case for anybody out there, but if you're not seeing an award right now for this semester that's coming up here soon, you might want to check your SAP status, because a lot of times we won't be able to, because grades probably were run back in May. We might not have been able to get you an award until that SAP gets cleared up. So take a look there, and if you see something on your to-do list, that Maya mentioned earlier on the right-hand side of your MyWSU. If you see something that says SAP appeal, then you know you may have to do it. So you can see the SAP contact information there, sapappeal@wsu.edu, if you have any specific questions about that. So the next topic is census date. Now this is something that we are, again, of course, by federal law, we are required to monitor. Census date is the 10th. We're basically taking a snapshot of your enrollment after the semester starts. And we do that on the 10th day of classes. So for the semester coming up here, Friday, September 4th, is the day that we're going to take that, quote, snapshot. Basically, we know a lot of times you may not like one of the classes you're in, so you'll drop it and you'll get into another one and things like that. So a lot of times students are enrolling and disenrolling in classes, dropping and adding, and so we give you this 2-week grace period sort of to kind of figure out what you're doing. And at that point, we take the snapshot, because then if you're only, say, not going to school full-time and you're in 9 credits, 9 credits isn't considered full-time for financial aid, 12 credits is, so we might adjust some of your aid at that point. So if you're either receiving Pell Grants, or the second one is state need grants, is it institutional grants this year as well, I believe? I believe so. If you're getting any of those kind of grants, then if you're not full-time, we will adjust it down accordingly. So if you're in 9 credits, we will adjust it down a quarter, just for the current semester. You might not see your grant money released. So if you know, say you're only going to be in 9 credits and the semester starts and your grant money hasn't delivered, that's because we're waiting for the census date. Your loans will go through because that's just based on half-time enrollment, and that doesn't get affected by it. We don't reduce that or anything like that. But if you're an institutional grant or state need grant or any Pell Grant, we will hold those until census date if you're not full-time. So keep that in mind. Don't freak out if you don't see your money released or something like that. Or if you know you're waiting to get into a class and you're only in 9, once you get to full-time status at 12 credits, because the process will be run nightly, then we will see that you're in full-time and then your aid releases. So, on the first day of classes, you're in 12 credits, your grants are going to release. But then say you drop a class and then census day happens, we will pull some of that money back. So just be careful of that. So. And there are certain times that you can petition that census, or maybe you were really having a hard time adding a class or you're waitlisted. We will, there is a petition process that you can find on our website when the time comes for that. So just keep that all in mind.
And then where you should be now, as you guys obviously know, class is just around the corner. It'll begin very shortly. So some things you need to keep in mind is that you should, as of right now, you should have already received a WSU financial aid package for next year. As Andy said, if you haven't received one yet, there's going to be a reason for that. So check, and I think we have a couple slides coming up that'll help us with this, but check your MyWSU account. There should be some blue-gray boxes on the right-hand side of the screen that would show you they're broken down to different departments. So financial aid is one of them. If there's anything in there, you're going to want to click on it and see what it's telling you to do, because if there's something there, you probably have some kind of action that you need to take in order to get a financial aid package. And the last thing, I guess, would be to accept any loans. And so most likely you're going to be offered one of 3 loans, or a couple of these 3 loans: Perkins loan, subsidized loan, unsubsidized loan, possibly even a grad trust loan if you're a grad student. So what you would need to do is make sure to accept those ahead of time. We would recommend, if you're going to accept them now. So if there's any counseling or master promissory notes you need to do with that, that can get to us, confirmation of that can get to us so your aid can disperse properly.
Maya, we had a question I was trying to squeeze in there when what Andy was just referencing before you took over that next slide.
Oh, sure.
She was wondering if what he was talking about, was that only for students not enrolled in 12 credits?
And that is correct, yes. So if you're in 12 credits or 15 credits or all the way up to 18 credits, it's not going to, your grant money is not going to be withheld because you're at full-time status. It's going to deliver. So as long as you stay in the 12 credits or more, your aid will, all your grant money will deliver. Your state need grant and your Pell Grant and things like that. The only time it would be affected then is if you did drop within the next 2 weeks before census date. Then if you don't get back to 12, then we could pull it back after the census date is, if that picture is taken then. So I hope that makes sense. Kelsey, that makes sense? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So here's just an example of someone's financial aid package. As you can see, grants are going to be something that we automatically accept for you because it's free money, just like scholarships, and we're going to assume that you want the free money. But then you can't accept the loans, and as you can see, this person accepted the full amount of loans they were offered. However, you can change that amount. So where it's the $7,000 and $5,500, if you only need $3,000 of that unsub, by all means, just accept $3,000, and it's that point in the process that you can enter that amount that you desire in there.
And keep in mind that whatever you're accepting on here is dispersed in 2 disbursements, half of it for fall and the other half for spring. So looking at this slide, you can see the $7,000 unsubsidized direct loan. $3,500 of it is going to disperse for fall, and then the other $3,500 for spring. Now, if you say $3,000, it's going to assume that you want $1,500 for each semester. Now, if you're saying you want $3,000 of that unsubsidized, but only for the fall, and you don't want the spring, then you need to contact our office. So that way we can make the appropriate correction to that. There is a loan action request form on our website that you can also fill out, but you can also give us a call, and we'd be more than happy to help you out with that. So.
Yeah. All right, moving on. This is just another screenshot. Those to-do items we keep talking about, those wonderful checklist items. These are the boxes that are going to show any to-do items. There might also be some that don't necessarily apply to financial aid, but maybe you have a hold for some reason. You can always see that there as well. But like we said, this is where any action items are going to be. So if there's going to be a little link. I think there's a little link that says details. If you click on that, it's going to show you, bring you to another screen where you can click on individual action items or the to-do items, and you can figure out what you actually need to do. So if you have one, if it's an initiated status, that means you have something to do. If it's in a received status, that means we have something to do.
And then if there's nothing there, obviously it's been erased, everything's been completed. In this example here, obviously it says no outstanding checklists, so there shouldn't be anything holding up any kind of disbursement for aid or anything. So a couple of reminders, just as we get closer, here we are. Part of your job as a student is to take responsibility for your financial aid and WSU obligations. You're all adults now, and so it's your responsibility to keep track of everything. So always check your checklist. Make sure that you're in a good SAP standing. We send out a lot of communications if there's any issues or problems that we're having or if you're having. So make sure that you're always checking your MindWSU page. Because we send stuff all the time, not just our office, but other offices as well, in case there's any issues. Deadlines, I can't stress more enough. Obviously, at this point, we're pretty much past deadlines right now, but of course, come September, we're always starting to deal with next academic year, and so you want to make sure that you're keeping track of those deadlines, FAFSA deadlines, document submission deadlines, scholarship application deadlines, and things like that. So those are something that we take seriously, and we want to make sure that you understand that that's a big responsibility on your part to keep up on those. So managing your aid, university-related tax, it kind of goes along with that a little bit. Do you have anything to add really with that? Just making sure that you're just paying attention. If you have questions, call us, call any part of, call Global Campus, call your advisor if you're having any question with it. Reading and understanding these notices, sometimes it can be a little tricky and a little difficult. I know our office website has a lot of great information, so if you're really confused on borrowing a loan for the first time, absolutely give us a call. We'd be more than happy to help you. But our website has a ton of information that really goes into detail as far as not only the steps and procedures, but just definitions and what things mean and everything before you do that. And the next one, really important, is check your WSU email. WSU now is, where the policy is now, is everything gets sent to the student's WSU email. In the past, you could check the primary email address or preferred email address, and they would send it there. Everything from here on out now is going to your WSU email. Now, if you want to have your WSU email forwarded to whatever, Google or Hotmail address that you want, that's up to you. You can certainly do that, but just keep in mind that anything the university sends is now going to your WSU email. So, if something happens, special circumstances, because a lot of times your financial aid is based off of last year's tax return information, things like that, we can take that into consideration. So if things change in your life, because we know things change all the time, whether you may have lost your job, or your spouse may have lost a job, or not, maybe now you have a kid or something like that, that is something that you can completely do. We have this on our website, finaid.wsu.edu/forms, and then you'll go to the special circumstances section, and then just fill out what applies to you, and it'll give you specific instructions on what you need to supply and that sort of thing. So kind of keep that in mind.
And the last one I think I'll go over.
Just
don't wait till the last minute when things change or go crazy or anything. We're here as a resource for you, and we have people on the phones 8 to 5. I mean, we do also have email. That's another great way to contact us as well. But please contact us if you have any questions or if something's wonky on your end or if you're confused about something. We definitely want to help, and we're here for you guys. So please contact us.
An email email's getting answered very quickly. Right now, I know we know it's almost a week before school starts, so phone wait times are a little bit long at some times of the day. So if you don't want to be on hold for a while, fire us an email. We'll respond back to you within 24 hours. So just keep that in mind. So,
yeah.
And Maya and Andy, just to catch you real quick, Kelsey has a question. She's going to type it, so I may, in a moment, maybe just pause for a question. It might be a longer question. I just want to give you a heads up as you guys keep going.
No, we're pretty much out of slides. There's our contact information and everything, but we're obviously open to answer any questions that anyone has, so we can just hold on for a second and wait there. But there's our phone number. You get into the phone tree. We have a call center that'll answer all your any questions that you have. Like Maya said, 8 to 5, we have people there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And we do also have we're on 3 different social media avenues, and our advisor that manages those posts a lot of helpful information about different deadlines or different scholarship resources or different things going on with financial aid that might impact you. I mean, there might be a census date reminder and that kind of stuff. So definitely there's our usernames or whatnot, so definitely follow us so you can get some updated stuff. We do also have some fun, cool giveaways and other fun stuff that we do on there as well. So definitely good to follow us on social media. So any other topics that we maybe?
Well, looks like Kelsey just submitted a question, so let's take a look. I'll read it out loud so that everyone can hear it. So it says, all campuses are calculated at Pullman's cost of living. Who expects students, for example, in Everett, are able to find rent at the same price as Pullman? Though cost of living cannot predict where global students are living, you can only appeal for a revision request up to $942 a month for rent or mortgage. Therefore, global students are receiving inaccurate financial aid estimates based on their actual living situation and unable to even revise the calculations to rent more than $200 plus than the baseline room calculation of $736. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, it's not just Pullman that they use to calculate, and it's something that we reevaluate every single year. But with the cost of living increase and that sort of thing, it'll probably change again next year. And sometimes with specific circumstances, Kelsey, you can petition that, and then we can look into it a little further and see if there's anything else further we can do on top of that maximum $942 per month increase that we do raise it to. You can certainly contact us, and then in some cases we can look at that and see if there's anything else we can do. So good question. But it is, just to answer it again, it's not solely Pullman that we're basing that on. We do take an average of all the areas. We had Everett and, of course, Global, but we also have Spokane and the Tri-Cities and Pullman, obviously, and Vancouver. So it is not just solely Pullman. But, it is something that we do revisit, and maybe we'll take a hard look at it next year. So good question. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Let's see. So hold on. Kelsey's saying, so the petition would not be to request that it be adjusted, but the actual, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Contact us and we'll look at your specific case and see if there's any additional changes or anything that we can do. We'll talk it over with the powers that be and see if there's anything that we can do in your specific case. That's what I was referring to. So does that help? Okay, perfect. All right, any other questions? I don't think so. Well, Thanks, everyone. We hope you're excited about the new year. We are. And we hope you have a good semester. And if you have questions, give us a call. Thanks so much.
Go Cougs.
And now we'll give it back to Harmony, and she'll give you a couple of things to talk about. So thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, great. Thanks so much, Andy and Maya, for that brief, informative information to really help, hopefully, students get off to the right start. And like Andy and Maya said, if you have any further questions, feel free to contact their office directly, and they can give you a more case-by-case response as needed. Also, if you look in the chat box, I have cut and pasted our survey link. So if you have a moment to go and take that survey and let us know what you liked about tonight's presentation, and how we can do more programming like this or other programs you might be interested, that would be great. Again, thanks for joining us tonight, and we wish you guys the best of luck as we kick off another school year. Have a great day.